PlayStation has some pretty insane deals going on right now, with Crysis, Assetto Corsa, and the Medium going to discounts up to 90% off. First off, we have Mafia Definitive Edition, which is also at 85% discount for about $6. And this remains a very solid story-driven action game. The city looks great, the atmosphere is strong, and the narrative is tightly focused. Gameplay is fairly straightforward and mission design is a bit old school, but it works well if you're here for the immersion because this world gets super real. At this price, it's a strong pickup for anyone who enjoys cinematic crime stories. I don't even know how to pronounce this next game, but I trust this AI voice to do that for me. It's called Call of Cthulhu. Drop a comment if you think I got the pronunciation right. By the way, this game is currently 75% off at around $5, and this leans much more into investigation and dialogue than action. It's slow, deliberate, and heavily focused on atmosphere. Combat is minimal and not especially strong, so expectations matter here. But for $5, it's a solid choice if you're into Lovecraft-style horror and story-heavy experiences. And then we got Anomaly Agent, sitting at 70% off for around $4.50, which is a stylish, side-scrolling action game with fast pacing and clean combat. It doesn't overcomplicate things, and that works in its favor. It's not especially long, and depth is somewhat limited, but it delivers tight, focused action. At this price, it's a solid pick if you want something quick and energetic without a huge time commitment. Then we got Mass Effect Legendary Edition, currently 85% off at around $9, and this one really needs no introduction at all. It's a huge RPG popular around the world. You're playing as Commander Shepard, building a crew, making major story decisions, and traveling between planets while engaging in third-person shooter combat. A lot of your time is spent talking to companions, shaping relationships, and making choices that carry across the entire trilogy. Combat improves as the series goes on, but the real strength is the world building. For $9, getting the full trilogy is honestly ridiculous value. If you have already played the free version of Life is Strange 1, check out Life is Strange 2, which is sitting at 80% off for about $6.30, and this is very much a choice-driven narrative experience. You're guiding two brothers on the run, making dialogue decisions and moral choices that directly impact how the story unfolds. There's minimal traditional gameplay. It's mostly exploration, conversations, and key decision points. The pacing is slow and emotional rather than action-heavy. At this price, it's a strong pick if you want something story-focused and character-driven. Then we have one of the best, if not the best, co-op game, It Takes Two, currently 88% off at around $8. And after years, it still holds up its place as an awesome two-player co-op experiences you can play on PlayStation. Every level introduces new mechanics, so it constantly feels fresh, and the variety keeps things from ever getting repetitive. And I don't have to say that it's strictly co-op, so you'll need someone to play with, so yeah, get a partner or a friend. For this price, this is an easy recommendation if you've got someone ready to jump in. Then we got Mark of the Ninja, and guys, this one's awesome. It's currently discounted by 75% to about $5, and this is one of the cleanest stealth games you can play. Trust me, the movement in this one feels smooth, enemy visibility is clearly communicated, and the level design supports multiple approaches. It's not overly long, but it's extremely polished. At this price, it's an easy recommendation if you like stealth done right. Then there's Absolver, sitting at massive 90% off for around $3, and even better, 92% off if you're on PS Plus, which makes it even more tempting. Combat is built around timing, positioning, and creating your own fighting style, which is a really cool idea. It can feel tough early on, and the player base isn't as active as it once was, but mechanically, it's still really interesting. For $3, it's worth trying if you want something skill-based and a little different. Then we have The Forgotten City, discounted by 75% to about $7.50, and this is one of those games that really revolves around its central idea. The time loop mechanic encourages experimentation, dialogue exploration, and careful decision-making. Combat isn't the focus, and the experience is largely narrative-driven. For under $8, it's a great choice if you enjoy uncovering mysteries at your own pace. Then we have Judgement, currently 75% off at around $7.50, and this mixes detective work with brawler-style combat. You play as a private investigator, solving crimes, gathering evidence, tailing suspects, and getting into street fights. There's a lot of side content, like minigames, side cases, and optional activities, alongside the main story. Combat is fast and flashy, but the real appeal is the mix of investigation and drama. For under $8, there's a ton to do here. After that is Middle-earth: Shadow of War, discounted by 90% to about $5. And this is all about action and the Nemesis system. You're roaming open regions, fighting orcs, capturing forts, and building your own army. Combat feels similar to the Arkham games, with counter-based melee and gadgets. The standout feature is how enemy captains remember encounters and develop rivalries with you. For $5, it's packed with content and very easy to recommend. Then we have the Entropy Centre, which is currently 77% off at around $5.70. And this is a very solid pick if you enjoy first-person puzzle games, or even just puzzle games in general. What makes this one interesting is that it's got this time reversal mechanic that is clever and actually used in interesting ways, rather than feeling like a gimmick. Some puzzles can drag slightly toward the later stages, which takes time and patience, but the pacing is generally well handled throughout the game. For under $6, it's an easy recommendation if you liked Portal-style experiences and want something thoughtful but not overwhelming. Next up is Doom: The Dark Ages, sitting at 67% off for about $23, and this is definitely one of the bigger budget titles in the sale. It's not cheap, but at this discount, it's a nice option if you have saved up some cash. It leans heavier and more grounded compared to the hyperspeed feel of Doom Eternal, focusing more on weighty combat and spectacle. It's still intense, but in a slightly different way. $23 isn't impulse buy territory, but for a newer Doom release at that discount, it's a strong deal if you're into aggressive shooters. After that, there's Bramble: The Mountain King, currently 80% off at around $6, and this is very much an atmosphere-first experience. It mixes fairy tale visuals with surprisingly dark and unsettling moments, which creates a strong contrast throughout. The gameplay of this one is fairly simple, mostly light platforming and puzzle solving, but the presentation carries it so well. At this price, it's a good pickup if you're in the mood for something shorter and more artistic and kinda emotional. Then we got Resident Evil 4, sitting at 75% off for around $5, and this is classic survival action. You're exploring hostile areas, managing limited resources, solving light puzzles, and fighting off waves of enemies. It balances tension with action really well, especially as the pacing ramps up. In this one, compared to other entries, the inventory management and positioning matter a lot, which keeps encounters engaging. At this price, it's one of the most influential action horror games you can grab for next to nothing. And guys, we also have Borderlands 3, currently 90% off at around $6, and this is all about fast-paced looter-shooter chaos. You're running missions, clearing out enemy camps, fighting bosses, and constantly swapping out weapons for better, crazier ones. The gunplay in this game feels tight and responsive, and build variety is strong across the different Vault Hunters. The story isn't the strongest in the series, I have to admit, but mechanically it's the best it's ever felt. For $6, especially if you've got someone to play co-op with, it's huge value. Next up is Bayonetta, sitting at 75% off for about $6.20, and this is pure, stylish action. You're chaining together combos, dodging at the last second to trigger slow-motion witch time, and fighting over-the-top enemies in increasingly ridiculous set pieces. It's very skill-based, and higher difficulties really test your execution. The story is wild and action-packed, but the combat is the main attraction. At this price, it's a strong pickup if you enjoy fast, technical action games. After that, there's A Way Out, currently 82% off at around $5.30, and this is built entirely around co-op. You and another player control two prisoners trying to escape, solving puzzles, making choices, and coordinating actions in split screen the entire time. The gameplay kind of shifts between stealth, quick time events, light combat, and minigames. It's not very long, but it's designed to be played through in a couple of sessions. For just over $5, it's a solid co-op experience. Then we have Control, discounted by 85% to about $6, and this is a third-person action game with a strong focus on telekinetic powers. You're exploring a shifting, supernatural office building, uncovering documents, completing side missions, and fighting enemies using both weapons and psychic abilities. The combat in this game feels fluid once you unlock more skills, though it can be challenging early on. For $6, it's a very polished action experience with a distinct atmosphere. And then we got Dishonored, sitting at 75% off for around $5. And this is all about choice and how you approach missions. You're sneaking through levels, using supernatural abilities, avoiding or eliminating targets, and deciding whether to play stealthy or aggressive. The level design is the real highlight, with multiple paths and hidden routes everywhere. At this price, it's an easy recommendation if you enjoy stealth and immersive sim-style gameplay. These are just a few of the many ongoing sales on PSN. If you are looking for more, just hit that subscribe button, because we make these deal videos a few times every week so you don't miss out on any title.